Welcome to another episode of the Top Corner Podcast. And today is 5/12/2025.
Boy,
DJ,
is it.
let the beat drop.
Perfect.
Well, another day, another week,
Another $1.
another dollar. How they say it.
$1 a day.
Well, Ancelotti just became officially Brazil's coach.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, big clubs, especially Madrid, sometimes it don't matter how good you are to them. They will just let you hang. Oh, at some point they got to put you out. No
Yeah.
matter how good of a wife you can be.
There's no other club that really that the fans lose good faith with so quickly. They can genuinely love you and then genuinely hate you based on a single performance, and it's
Even the whole association is weird
Yeah.
because I feel like they're the only club that kind of, in the eyes of a lot of people, get away with it just
Yeah.
because it's kind of like their motto.
that's the thing. Like they can get away with it. It's not so much that it's like this massive injustice and
Yeah.
that everybody It's the one club that you do kind of understand, but I don't respect it, but I understand that that's what they're-
I don't respect it.
It's just funny that there are other fan bases of clubs that get more flack
Yeah.
than Real Madrid fans. If I had to pick the most annoying fans, not necessarily what you see on social media,
Yeah.
but what you would encounter in person,
Yeah.
they'd have to be at the very, very, very top
Yeah.
because they get to do that kind of stuff. They get to spend $100 million every other summer on these crazy rock stars and then complain about them when they don't score.
And
40 goals a season. Like, yo, shut the fuck up, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, seriously.
And the one thing is that Real Madrid fans are kind of interesting. It's like they will love you today. They can go for war, or go to war for you.
Yeah.
Against other people. But the minute you don't perform, they're like, "Hey, boy, what's going on, man? We might turn against you now. We don't want you.
So if you go to that club, then do you really
You gotta perform."
and you kind of understand, kind of like Gareth Bale of well, I'm going to work hard for you guys, but I'm also going to kind of keep you at a distance because at the end of the day, you don't respect me
Yeah.
personally. You respect that I win you games, but you don't support me as an actual player. I'm this thing that does chores for you, at a level that nobody else has the gall to expect either.
Yeah.
Yet you treat it as normal. It's like you need to just treat it as the exceptional, circumstances that it is, which is this club is able to demand this thing, and you don't have to love each single player, but there's a lack of respect, I think, that goes out pretty quickly. It's just a very odd fandom, I think.
Yeah. That's very true. Which is, I think, when you give a lot of your life to a club, a company, or whatever, there should at least be some kind of reciprocal respect. But at the end of the day, there's the one club that I kind of understand. One thing with them is, if you really want to be great at business, where you really don't care about people's feelings, you gotta follow Madrid. Go and learn from them because they don't have no emotion. They're not attached to people like that. When it's time for you to get gone.
Yeah. And that I don't mind. I understand 100% that maybe you do let someone go 2 or 3 seasons before the other clubs would, out of some sort of possibly overabundance of respect. They have no problem cutting you loose pretty quickly. Now, and to me, that's better than the fans booing not something that's not a lights out performance. You can't. No one can really perform at that level every single time, and so what you're booing is not necessarily even humanly reasonable.
And people have their days, and clubs have their years too, and clubs have their time. So you have to understand that as much as you always want to win, there's not a single person on earth that always wins every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Even the most prodigal person in any sport, in any field, has down moments. It's just normal. That's just how life works. What did you think about the Champions League this week, or last week, I guess? Inter Milan against Barcelona.
That was incredible.
That was incredible.
It was incredible. Yeah. That was the most fun over 2 legs that I think that I've
actually.
had
A lot of people, and including a lot of analysts, a lot of ex-football players, said that was the most exciting 2 legs game that they've seen in somewhere like in a long time,
Yeah.
and possibly might be up there with top 5 in history, which I don't know which top 5 you're gonna pick from.
Yeah, and that's like, so it was for me personally, and so that's not necessarily something that I want to, like, just shout, because I don't like that in the arts. I don't like that in sports, where like that was the greatest ever. Like the day after it happened, like it's like,
That's
hold on.
crazy.
So like I usually kind of stay away from that, but people with much more experience watching and obviously way more experience playing, were saying what I was feeling as well. So I felt a bit more like that really was like unbelievably exceptional, wasn't it? That wasn't just me having a great time. That wasn't me speaking a bit more verbosely about what I had experienced than maybe it was. Once they said that, I was kind of able to go, you know what? Glad, because I was feeling the same way, but I don't personally feel like I have the track record to be able to just like say that to other people and just so yeah.
I mean, it's however you feel, it's your opinion, and your opinion matters to you, which is normal, And I will say this though, that game, bro, especially those last minute, it's like Inter was possessed. They got that little bit of, I don't know, their will to win was greater than Barcelona's will to win. That's what I would say. Just like one of those things, the animes or movies, like especially fighting movies, they're going to tell you, you see John Ryder, his will to win, his will to beat anyone was his asset.
Yeah, he can go the distance.
So I was like,
well, and I think that's mentality, that's age, that's experience, but I also think that it's their play style as well, because now they're an older side, and you could tell that they were a bit more. They were tired. It's funny, like they were playing, because they weren't playing their normal conservative self either. They were conservative in relation to Barcelona, but Barcelona were just completely shooting from the hip, and it was awesome. But Inter kind of were able to be a bit more physically expressive, and you could tell that it took a toll on them. But I think that Barcelona, seeing that they had that extra little bit of push, kind of took the wind out of their sails a little bit as well, because they'd been running full force the entire match, and you can just sort of see that these old guys do have something in the bag still, and we were hoping that they'd completely bottom out. But seeing that they were able to still kind of maintain themselves,
and also this subs really helped. The Fatezi coming in, and Taremi. It's one thing though, recognizing that you gotta substitute this guy so he can go in there. And when you look at, I think the fourth goal, man, Fatezi was just beautiful. And I think by the end they kind of understood the high line in a sense, because by the end they weren't really. Barcelona they were not catching Inter off the high line anymore. Because they had a lot of opportunities by the end of the game, the match in a sense. But Dumfries, Inter should thank Dumfries, to be honest, or Dumfries, however you call it. He is one of the major catalysts for Inter's win.
Yeah, even when he doesn't have, because he's one of those guys that he's such an integral part of their system, that even if he's not playing well, you see a lot of him, because they just like, he's just he's so foundational in how they move, that even when he doesn't have a great game, he's still just involved with absolutely everything. So when he is on fire, it's like he's like one of the best players on the planet. It feels like
those 2 legs he played that. Those 2 assists on the second leg, man, that's just amazing. And I think Barcelona this side, if they stay another 1 or 2 years, they will win a lot, because they're all young, they're all talented, and it's the way I see it, it's gonna be difficult to hold them down. And I think Inter was their most difficult opponent this season because of this play style. It clashed.
So, by far their most experienced and uniform squad. That's the thing. Because you could make at this point you could make the argument, but I don't know if I agree with you, that Madrid 1-for-1 have better players, but I don't even know if that's true. First off, but they play the way that they play. They all play like they're better athletes. They all play like they see the game better. Inter does, because they play as a unit.
No, I will make the same argument. Individuality has always been Madrid's brand. Not having a real system, because it also, one thing I like about it is just adaptability. It means it's not, in case you don't have a player that actually knows how to play how you want. it becomes difficult for the team to cope. That's why I kind of like that system. But the downside is when it becomes difficult, where you have the team has to play together against teams like Barcelona, because Barcelona is really a unit together with individuality at every time. Because of everybody moves, rotate, and everybody understand what they have to do. But it's not actually positional where you have this is your position. You can because it's like all-star football with a little bit of new, and that's kind of the same thing Inter is doing. You think about Jose Mourinho doing the pack the balls, but the difference is that sometimes we can have it at the middle, sometimes we can rotate, sometimes we can keep possession of the ball instead of just waiting. So,
and that's why Dumfries is whether or not he has a great game or not, you see so much of him because they do want to hold onto the ball, but the pace down the wings is what allows them to actually move the ball upfield. They're not always looking for extremely laced passes through the midfield or having those pacey attacking midfielders sort of getting recovering that ground and then kicking it out to the wings. Dumfries really is getting most of the legwork on the sides. After distribution of the ball, or at least slowing the pace of play has been accomplished by the midfield. So they have a great tactical system in front of them, and they've got experienced guys that if they have weak points, they really do a good job at showing them about keeping them hidden from you.
Paris Saint-Germain, Arsenal. That was an interesting one. I felt like Arsenal could have won because they came out the gate the first 15 minutes. Like I said, they were playing it, but wish they had kept the same intensity. The only thing that and I kind of knew this, Paris Saint-Germain, is the counterattacks. Their counterattacks are really deadly, and that's really what Paris Saint-Germain. I wonder how it will go for Paris Saint-Germain and Inter Milan. But do you think that Arsenal could have done something better to win this game?
They could have played better. Yes, I don't feel like there was really a run of play that felt like they were going to be able to overcome.
Yeah.
I felt like at the absolute best that it was going to be a challenge to get to extra time. And then at that point, it is what it is. And the depth of the PSG bench is stronger.
Yeah.
Although, PSG, they're a very talented young squad. They don't have a ton of depth on the bench either, but they do have much more than Arsenal, especially at this point in the season. And you don't like sitting there saying that injuries were the main issue, because it's easy to. I mean, everyone's injured at this point.
Yes,
but the depth of the squad is a numerical
advantage.
Yeah. So if they have less players of that caliber, it's objective.
Yeah.
You don't want to just pin it on one thing. But you could really tell there was a lack of options in the midfield, the buildup of play.
Yeah.
It felt like Rice and Partey especially were not able to get any sort of momentum going. They were more so kind of just trying to absorb the pressure and try to stamp out the quick counters to the point where they couldn't really maintain the possession, really sort of build up anything of offensive significance. And Odegaard really had no options in that as well, but passing side to side and backward, and there weren't too many options. And there were chances that didn't go in. And Martinelli is far from clinical. On that wing, Saka missed a couple of things as well, but the amount of chances, based on what you've seen that this side does over the last 3 seasons, this season in particular, really, they're not creating as many chances as you would hope for. Despite having some really good players in that squad, you would really hope that really improving on your fullbacks was going to help pin down the pressure and really be able to maintain the ball in the opponent's third. That's the whole point.
That's the whole point.
You would hope that Lewis Skelly and Timber could really sort of be able to pincer around and help maintain. But it just wasn't really happening.
I felt like they were a little bit conservative just because they were kind of scared of the counterattacks. But also, I think Saka did a great job. For me, when I looked at that, when I watched that game, I think Saka, it felt like he wanted it more.
Yeah.
At some point, you see him penetrating in. At some point, he was shooting. He was in there. But the rest probably didn't match the same energy.
Yeah,
in a sense. So.
And you need a center forward as well, because
that's true. That's why at some point I saw him going in there. He was like,
I'm doing my fucking self, man. Because that's the whole point of like a lot of the wingers as well. It's that like when Saka takes his chance, it's not that he's just taking the chance, and like a lot of the time, like the winger taking the chance is not necessarily a wasted ball.
Yeah.
A lot of times it gets recycled very quickly in the 6-yard box or just outside it, and that's where you need your poaching center forward. And because Marino is more effective outside, he's not near the ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like Saka taking those chances for himself is not always the bad thing. I've seen plenty of ricochets, and you know, he's cycled the ball through the middle as well in several games past.
Yeah.
And it's just never the person that needs to be there is just not there.
That's true, and that's why they need the striker. They need a classic striker. They don't need one of these new strikers.
It's not working. Yeah, you've had several seasons to realize that it's not working, and I understand the modernization of the game, and you know, like that other clubs are doing these certain tactics, and that, you know, it's not quite a false nine thing. It's this sort of drifting, because Mbappe does it as well, and and that works for a lot of systems and that works for a lot of players. But at the end of the day, you've tried it several times. Like it's so clear now where your weaknesses lie. Not even in just like the lack of quality. Like Marino is a quality midfielder, so it's not that he's not good enough for the side.
Yeah,
this is not his position. And what are you expecting from that? Trossard down the middle. It's not that he is not a good finisher. He has a good finish in him. We've seen that. It's just not from that number 9 position. You'd have to get the classic player for that position and stop making people convert in odd places to fit the system. Even though injury is there, and I understand that, but enough people have been converted without the injury or lack of depth in the roster to show that he's trying to do something different, and it's just not working.
Liverpool, Arsenal. What happened there? I thought because they lost this game, they would have gone in there blazing just because Liverpool already won the league. There's no reason for them to be adamant. But apparently they were kind of playing. I feel like they were playing, but not. They were a little bit reserved, and I think Arsenal should have won that game, especially how tight they are. Arsenal has 68 points, Newcastle 66. That's 2-point difference. Manchester City 65. That's just 3-point difference. And I think they still have 3 games. Two all of them.
Let me double check. I think, But and here's the thing, and this is the really frustrating thing about how the season's gone so far.
Two. That's true.
It's that, you know, because you squander points in other parts of the season, that now you know, drawing at Anfield is not a good result for you. When it is, that is objectively a good result. 1 point at Anfield is a good result for anybody. Man City, Southampton, doesn't matter. It's significant. But because you've dropped so many points in other places, now we're sitting here saying, and I don't disagree with you, that, you know, I do like the draw. I do like being a bit more conservative in against that team in that park. But what's taken place the rest of the season does make you just like, I want to see the energy. I need to see the energy, even if you get countered and it backfires on you. Like, I kind of wanted and needed to see a bit more life.
Yeah. Because if you lost a game now, you are a little bit in a bit of a pickle. Yeah. Because you have to fight for your top spot for the Champions League, and especially all of you guys are tight. So
and Newcastle is next week as well.
Oh, and you see, that's another thing. I didn't know they were playing Newcastle.
I think that's the last big. No, I think they're playing Newcastle, and Chelsea has one more big matchup. Let me double check that while you're talking.
Okay, so that's another thing. So it's gonna be very the I think the whole frustration sometimes comes back to, as much as Arsenal started this project with Arteta, I think that it should come a time in a season where there is no anxiety about being or not being top 4 to be to qualify next year for the Champions League. Some season where we win the Premier League in a sense, or probably the Champions League too, because it's not magic. It's just you have to get certain things right to do that. So sometimes I wonder if Arteta did what he could do, and now it's time for a new coach. Yeah. The reason why I say this is that Mourinho actually recruited a lot of Real Madrid players in 2013, I think, with Carlo Ancelotti. But when they left, Carlo Ancelotti came in 2014, and he won with the team than Mo. So it's like Mourinho had done what he could do.
Yeah.
Now they needed just someone to put. I wonder if that's the same situation. But now, if that's not the same situation, what's left for Arsenal to do to get to those highs?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not
we'll
uncommon.
probably have a whole segment on probably on this.
Yeah.
But
It's not, I mean, managers rarely get to walk into a new club and completely rebuild it from scratch in a very quick fashion. Usually when a new manager in a high-profile club steps in, they are working with a good squad that's been built by somebody else. You inherit a good squad, and it's just about your tactical rearrangements and developments that lead to the success. And so the last two matchups that involve people competing for those Champions League spots are this next week, Arsenal and Newcastle, and then on the final day, Chelsea and Nottingham Forest. Are kind of battling for that fourth spot.
I had high hopes for Nottingham Forest, to be honest. Not because it felt like an outsider getting in the top 6.
Well, and they can definitely beat Chelsea. They can.
Yeah.
This whole season's shown that they can.
That's true. That's true.
Whether or not they have the motivation at this point in the season, that final game, it doesn't look like. It looks more uncertain now than it has at any other point in the season, and that's the unfortunate part, because Chelsea are slowly at times showing that they do have the capacity to get something.
Yeah, their
squad is still somewhat poorly defined in terms of who's playing week in, week out, who's doing exactly what tasks.
Yeah.
But if you're going to try to take points off of Nottingham Forest to get that Champions League spot, they're in luck. Like, this is the time. This last 4 or 5 weeks or so have been them at their most weak.
That's true. Going back to the Clasico, this there's not a Clasico game that I don't feel compelled to watch.
Sure.
I always want to watch it. But this season had proved something. Barcelona has been far more superior to Madrid in every sense. The first encounter, or the first time they got this year, the first time Barcelona and Madrid played together, was 4-0 by Barcelona. I think the second time was 5-2. The third time at the Copa del Rey was 3-2. And the fourth time is 4-3. It's a little bit of an improvement, I guess, but it just shows how Barcelona has been playing at a whole different level.
What's interesting is that whether or not it's the scoreline is one-sided, they're all high-scoring games.
That's true.
At least someone's banging in goals.
So does that even pose the question? Is it means Barcelona also kind of have a defensive problem? It's just that, like Lamine Yamal said, you can score. We will just score more.
And you hope. And this thing as well, it's not that the system is flawed, because it's getting them the Spanish title, and it got them to the semifinals, and it got them the Copa del Rey. So the system works. The problem is that once you get to that top 1% of other sides, that's where it can bite. Like, you can, they just showed you can win the Spanish league with that system. That's how good that system is.
Yeah.
And you can probably beat some of the more defensive sides in Europe. You just can't beat Inter Milan with it.
Yeah.
That's what they showed.
Yeah.
And so it's like the very top percentage of clubs are able to absorb that high line and make you pay for the counter.
That's true.
The system, it's showing, like, if you've earned silverware in one way or another, it is working. It's not that the tactics need to be rearranged. You need to implement minor changes for those top 1% sides.
Yeah.
Because it got them through the group stage of the competition as well.
That's true.
It's just and it got them through most of the knockouts as well. It's just once you get to that far in that particular competition, you're playing against one of the best 4 or 5 clubs in the world, and
Xabi Alonso, I think, is getting confirmed pretty soon. His contract will run to
confirmed. Sounds like he's the new pope.
I guess from 2025 to 2028. What do you think? How are we looking about the next season? We think there's gonna be a little bit more structure, so the free playing style might kind of go away a little bit, because Xabi is more part of the new coaching generation.
The freeness might go away, but the high energy will maintain, and I think that's what's going to make them happier, at least.
Yeah,
because at least at that point, you're still not asking Vinicius and Mbappe to sit back and absorb. You might ask them to track back a little bit more, but at the end of the day, they're still going to be able to move forward plenty. I think Valverde could succeed well in that. Modric might struggle with fitness and that kind of Leverkusen high energy style.
Yeah.
But a lot of the players I think can do well with a little bit more. They obviously need direction. That's the biggest issue. But they have the athleticism and the ability and the pace and the fitness to maintain high energy with just a little bit more control.
When you talk about fitness, there's one thing I saw with Barcelona. When I see Barcelona playing Inter, I see Barcelona playing Madrid, I see Barcelona playing all these things. One thing I've realized, the one thing that I've seen is the concern about the opponent scoring is, for them, it's not really a big deal, just because you've seen when you score Barcelona, it's like you've awakened something.
Yeah.
You see how they start pressuring you. You can't even touch the. You can't get out of your middle third.
Yeah.
Or your own first third. It's like, how do I get out? That's why I saw at some point they would just Thibaut Courtois get the ball and just kick it.
And it's all of them together. It's not just that.
That is
Like, they all at the exact same time understand exactly when they need to start their high pressure. And if all 10 guys in the outfield are doing it together, it's very hard.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
So it begs the question: how fit are they? I mean, to play a team like that, you have to be really fit.
Yeah.
Because So I'm really interested to see how Madrid will go. I'm interested to see, because we're approaching summer, or we're probably already in summer for other countries, but. We want to see. I want to see a lot of. I know there's going to be a lot of movement, so I'm kind of excited. Yes. But the Champions League final is coming up, and I want to see who's going to win. And on the Premier League side, I'm trying to see who Arsenal is going to get.
Yeah, I mean again, I've said it in weeks past. At least the positions are well known for what you need. Like there's no mystery. There's no this could work. It's like there are that's it. There are two positions that you must fill. One, because you didn't fill it for years, and the other because two players are leaving, and you need to cover it. You need a 6 and you need a 9. Yeah. Those are the two that you absolutely need, without a doubt. There are other squad players that you can bring in. Yep. There are other places for depth.
That is true.
I would say striker number 1, holding midfielder 2. Those are absolute musts, and I think if you really do want to succeed or have the most opportunities to succeed, you need to remedy the lack of finishing capability on the left wing. And that's it in terms of what is absolutely desperate and like what has been needed, especially this season, but really the last 3.
So the other thing that, because you probably are not on the side, I was on the French media side.
Okay.
So the whole discussion they had is, do you kind of discredit Mbappe because he didn't want anything with Paris Saint-Germain? If Paris Saint-Germain wins the Champions League? Or where would you stand in that issue? Do you just throw out someone's legacy just because he didn't win with you guys? And guess mine, a lot of people don't know. The reason why Mbappe stayed at PSG, his first contract, is because the French president had to intervene for the league to be watchable, because Mbappe just became a global star that early. So if your global star leaves, no one really wants to watch the league. Yeah. So have that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because I don't even really know if I don't even think it's about his talent. Yeah. It's just about what he contributes.
Yeah.
You can be incredibly talented and not contribute enough.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he scored a hat trick in the Clasico.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't enough because he's not contributing off the ball, and other players are doing the same thing as well. Yeah. There were plenty of times where, PSG didn't need him to score 3 goals.
Yeah.
They needed a fucking press. Like, they need him to clearly define his role and stick to everything and be more of a team player.
Yeah.
It's not just about, even if you're a forward, I know it's your job to score goals.
Yeah.
But there are other things that you have to do outside of that. And like I said, I don't think that's indicative of his talent. I don't think his talent is in question. It's just his ability to be a team player and play in a way that benefits not even just the team around him, but like not allowing for mistakes to develop.
Yeah.
Through other people as well, because what you do and don't do affect the other people.
That's true.
And Madrid was hanging on by a thread defensively. Like, that back line's been a mess all season.
Yeah.
Last thing that you really need is 2, 3 really. Although Rodrigo is the least offender of the 3, I think.
Yeah.
like allowing build-up to start taking place in in the opponent's third, and then the middle third, and then holy shit, they're bearing down on you in the box, and we're not ready. You're not setting up anyone else in defense for success.
But is it not a little bit unfair for the whole media to now, dog Mbappe? Because, because everybody has a year. Probably that's Paris Saint-Germain. What if he wins in the future? Do you come back now on your own words?
Right. and so him leaving did not, like, there are new guys that are playing well.
Yeah.
It's not just him leaving.
Yeah.
He could have just left.
That's true.
And the guys stayed the same.
Yeah.
They are all playing. I mean, because you're still prioritizing your wingers for attack.
Yeah.
Like you still have Barcola, Doué. Like they're not playing a wildly different style. Like they're just playing more cohesively. The midfield is not a shambles like it used to be. I think Kimpembe being out of the squad actually kind of helps them defensively. Because Kimpembe was like one of their defensive staples, and I think that Kimpembe and Marquinhos together was not really working. So now you have an inexperienced guy that, while he's still the weaker of the two, and you'll have to find a life after Marquinhos pretty sooner rather than later. It's both. It's both. They're a squad. They're a squad based tactical side now. But they're also just playing better as individuals.
Yeah.
Vitinha wasn't playing that like that when Mbappe was there, and Vitinha's style hasn't changed. His consistency has. That's what other guys have been doing as well.
Okay, I will go a little bit further just to say that I think, first of all, I don't think that should be an argument brought. But since the border argument, I would just say there's a difference in playing style of the whole team, because they're not playing for one person. Usually when you have a star, usually the ball goes through you, like Messi. It's going through Messi, and I can speak no matter what. The team is not built around someone anymore. So no one is the messiah. Yeah. Everybody has to do their job. And because everybody has to do their job, the team is a little bit more performant in a sense, where you don't, there's not someone that's like, I am the guy.
And that allows you to cover up individual mistakes as well.
Yes.
If everybody's playing for each other, even if one person makes a mistake, everybody else is understanding that they're there to clean it up. And you're right. I mean, do you agree that Vitinha is in better form? And,
no, he's definitely. I mean, but the whole way the play is different, because Vitinha don't have to focus on trying to thread it through Mbappe.
That's what I was saying. It's like because part of the reason that he was out of form is because he was having to force certain modes of play, whether it was there or not, whereas now he's able to really
look at the game,
just what is open, and then assess the situation from there. All three of the guys in the midfield are able to do that now. It's pretty amazing. I mean, like the play styles open them up for more options, but every single person on that pitch that was there when Mbappe was there is in just better form in general.
He's just carrying that curse that I like to call the Champions League curse. It's a curse where when you leave, your team wins. Ibrahimovic had it with Inter Milan. And if Paris Saint-Germain wins it, hey, that's it. Well, like I said, man, you guys, I'll give a round of applause first for us, and because of consistency. And another thing is that you guys have to go subscribe, like, and go on TikTok, Instagram, wherever you can get us, man.
Get us, come get me.
Turn on your bell notification, and that's what I was looking for.
I think it's the din one. There.
That's what you're supposed to do. Well, see you guys next week. Bye.
Goodbye.